Hey there, welcome around the flickering embers of our campfire. You're about to tumble headfirst into the heart of ancient Babylon, where the Euphrates slithers under stone arches and gossip travels faster than caravans across the desert. Tonight we're not whispering sweet lullabies, we're diving into marketplaces thick with spiced dust, palaces echoing with royal intrigue, and temples so immense you'll feel like an ant beneath their columns. So find a comfy spot, maybe cue a gentle breeze, and let's wander through the gardens of the gods. No tour guide required. Picture this. You step off a rickety river barge, chain of domed silos on one side and mud brick houses on the other, the smell of date wine mingling with overripe fish from the upstream docks. A chatter of Argonian traders haggles over copper bracelets, while a dry wind tugs at your cloak. You lean against a wooden post, grip your water skin, and realise this place doesn't pamper you. One misstep and you'll fall face first into the grit. We begin at dawn, but Babylon never truly sleeps. A tinker bangs iron at the smithy, sparks flicking like miniature stars against the pale morning sky. You hear goats bleating on the rooftops. Their owners let them wander free to nibble on stray grain, while women with clay-tinted faces haul baskets of barley to the communal ovens. You might think, charming, until someone jostles you in the narrow street, spilling your skin's last droplet of water. By mid-morning, the city crackles to life. The grand processional way, paved with glazed bricks in blues deeper than the sky, guides dignitaries toward the Ishtar Gate. Imagine parading through that corridor, flanked by lions and dragons, crowds pressing in sideways to shout your name, except commoners pay heavy bribes to catch a glimpse, so you're stuck outside the carved wall squinting through gaps. And the scents. Oh, the scents. The bakeries waft out fresh loaves coated in sesame and honey. But flip around one corner and you'll detect the less romantic aroma of overflowing latrines. Yes, there are public toilets here, but they're communal benches over the riverbank, chatting neighbours included. Let's just say privacy was never Babylon's strong suit. Around noon, traders haul exotic wares. Lapis lazuli from far-off mountains, cedar beams carved with winged bulls, and dabs of bright red ochre for your hair and nails. Fashion trends that would make even a reality show queen jealous. A silk merchant links arms with you to show off a shimmering bolt. In that moment you feel like royalty, until you check your purse and realise you can't even afford a single thread. By afternoon, priests glide through courtyards chanting in a tongue older than the city itself. They move toward the ziggurat, a stepped pyramid that looms like a gentle giant reaching for the heavens. Its staircases are worn smooth by thousands of feet, each step a memory of sacrifice, celebration, or some poor scribe's hurried climb before sunset. And speaking of sacrifice, don't be surprised if you spot a goat's neck dangling in a leather strap bound for an altar. Barley cakes are tossed to honour the gods, but occasionally someone gleefully ups the ante with a prized animal. You, standing too close, might get an unwelcome spray of blood, an unmistakable reminder. In Babylon, faith was never half-hearted. As twilight descends, lanterns flicker along the canals. You drift down to a tavern built on stilts over gently flowing water, where reeds brush the underside of your platform. Musicians, harps, drums, wind instruments carved from bone serenade a crowd gossiping over mugs of fermented grain. Someone recounts a scandal. The governor's daughter eloped with a foreign diplomat. The audience gasps in unison, lips stained purple from grape punch. Up on the rooftops, families spread mats under the first stars. They tell stories of creation myths, of Marduk vanquishing Tiamat, while incense smoke curls into the cool night. You close your eyes and imagine the temple's silhouette etched against the sky, monolithic yet vulnerable to any gust of fate. Before we dive back in, let me know where you're listening from. If this journey chills you in the best way, subscribe. Tomorrow I have another story for you. And so the sun rises once more over the mud brick ramparts, casting long shadows that dance like restless spirits across the open square. You find yourself back on the sun-baked avenue that leads to the city's great workshop district, an otherworldly symphony of clanging tools, hissing forges, and arcane scribes copying cuneiform tablets with reed styluses. The air vibrates with purpose. This is where dreams shape into reality, where potters spin wheels like lazy rivers, and weavers coax silk into patterns more elaborate than any royal decree. Step closer to a smithy, and feel the heat radiating off the bronze cauldron, that iron-hot heart where molten metal swirls like a miniature sun. The blacksmith's hammer strikes in relentless rhythm, thud, thud, each blow sending a tiny shower of sparks skyward. He wears goggles of polished copper to shield his eyes, yet you can see the dedication carved into every calloused finger. Turn your head, and you're in a cozier alcove, where potters coax clay into delicate bowls. Their fingers fly across the wheel, an ancient dance that's been passed down through generations. One artisan stops to press a vine pattern into the damp surface, each indentation capturing a whisper of the Euphrates' lush banks. Nearby, merchants haggle over these wares, some decorating walls in distant lands with Babylonian motifs, proof that even in antiquity the world had its own version of export economics. As you wander deeper, the scent of dyed textiles drifts from the dyers' quarters. Large vats bubble with indigo, madder root and saffron. You name it, they've coloured it. Workers with stained palms lift garments from the dye, blotting them on rough-hewn beams. They joke about whose robes will endure the longest wash cycle, a joke that would baffle modern laundromat patrons. Pause by a gate decorated with winged bulls, and you're stepping into the scholar's enclave. Here, clay tablets stacked floor to ceiling contain records of trade, astronomy, and recipes you'd never imagine. Did you know they made beer flavoured with dates and honey? Scholars sit cross-legged, interpreting omens written by priests who consulted the stars for everything from harvest predictions to royal success. Over their heads, the muralled ceiling whispers tales of gods descending on chariots of light. Midday hunger leads you toward the food stalls lining the canal. Grilled fish still sizzling on skewers, lentil stews bubbling in clay pots, and baskets of flatbread fresh from the hearth compete for your attention. You snag a skewer, the flesh tender and smoky, dipped into a tangy sauce of tamarind and garlic. Locals slurp soups as if they were perfumed teas, while falafel-like fritters fly off trays, snapped up by stallholders with gleeful efficiency. Crossing a small bridge, you encounter the riverbank baths, public pools where the well-to-do cool themselves under shaded pavilions. Servants rub scented oils into their master's skin, while children shriek as they cannonball into the water. You dip a toe in and feel the surprising chill, a welcome respite from the relentless Mesopotamian heat. Leaving the baths, you follow whispers of dissent. In a hidden courtyard, you see a circle of commoners plotting a bold prank on the governor, swapping his prized lapis inlay for cheap turquoise. They giggle in hushed voices, passing tablets like clandestine love notes. You wonder, how different is office gossip now? Same punchlines, new punch cards. Afternoon shadows stretch long as you climb the ziggurat's outer steps. Though your legs ache, the view is worth every creak of cartilage. From this vantage, the entire city unfolds like a living tapestry. Domed roofs glinting in sunlight, canals weaving like silver threads, and fields beyond the walls where farmers toil behind ox-drawn ploughs. And on the horizon, you spot caravans snaking through the desert, laden with frankincense and myrrh. Traders bound for far-off kingdoms. The sight stirs your soul. Babylon is not an end, but a crossroads of civilization, a place where every stranger carries a story worth hearing. As dusk nears, torches ignite along the walls one by one, until the city glows like a constellation fallen to earth. The call to prayer, though not yet invented in this age, resonates in your imagination, a reminder that faith takes shape in many forms. You inhale the night air, thick with jasmine and roasting nuts, and prepare to slip back into the narrative fold. This journey's tapestry is endless, woven by countless hands and imprinted with every footstep you've taken. But before the night deepens, I want to hear from you. Where are you listening, and how does Babylon's heartbeat resonate in your own world? Leave a comment below, and if the flicker of this tale warms your spirit, hit subscribe. Tomorrow, we continue along the riverbanks. The ziggurat's shadow stretches as the drums begin to rumble. The drums that echoed across the city square now thunder through your chest as you stand among a throng of torchbearers, their flames flickering in time with the steady beat. You're not just a spectator tonight. You're part of Babylon's grand nocturnal ritual, where every villager, merchant, and sentinel gathers to pay homage to the moon goddess Sin. So close your eyes for a moment and feel the vibration under your sandals, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. Opening your eyes, you see the plaza transformed. Stalls draped in white linen glow under suspended oil lamps, and the scent of spiced wine drifts from earthen amphora. A troupe of masked dancers emerges from the shadows, their movements fluid and unpredictable, as though they channel the very essence of the tides. Each footfall sends tendrils of dust spiralling upward, catching the torchlight like miniature comets. Around you, whispers swirl. Some marvel at the dancers' sapphire-encrusted masks. Others speculate about the governor's newfound alliance with a distant scribe guild. You lean toward a storyteller perched atop a low wall. His voice is hushed, conspiratorial. "They say a storm gathers beyond the Euphrates," he murmurs, eyes gleaming. "Not the kind the priests predict, but one born of ambition and blood." You shiver, though the night air is warm, wondering if he means war or some clandestine palace coup. Nearby, children chase each other between lantern-lit arches, giggling as they weave under stalls piled high with sweetmeats. You can't resist grabbing a piece of honeyed date cake, pressing it between your fingers until it practically melts. The flaky pastry crunches under your teeth, sweetness flooding your mouth. Tempting if you can ignore the grit that somehow has insinuated itself into every corner of the city. A horn blasts and the crowd parts to reveal the moon priestess, garbed in robes the colour of midnight. Her presence hushes the murmur to a respectful silence. She steps forward onto a raised dais, raising a bowl of milky water that catches the moonlight. As she sprinkles droplets across the assembled faces, you feel an odd chill run down your spine, as if those tiny beads carry whispers from another realm. The ritual crescendos as the drums accelerate, and you find yourself swept into the throng, moving in time with the thrumming pulse. Sweat beads at your temples, not just from the exertion, but from the electricity in the air. It's more than ceremony. It's a communion, a reminder that in Babylon, even the night belongs to the gods. Abruptly, the drums cease. Silence feels deafening, the kind that makes your ears ring. A single torch flickers out, plunging a section of the plaza into darkness. Someone screams. Was it part of the play, or a genuine shriek of panic? You can't tell, and for a heartbeat you stand frozen, imagining the worst. Marauding bandits, or worse, an omen of doom. Then a voice, calm, authoritative, cuts through the blackness. "All is well," declares the watch commander, his torch illuminating a face lined with worry. "False alarm, the storm is nigh, but we'll weather it together." Relief ripples through the crowd, laughter bubbling up like a shaken jar of honey. Yet you can't help but glance skyward, where a thin veil of clouds creeps across the moon, obscuring its silver glow. Somehow the festival resumes, but an undercurrent of tension lingers. You drift toward the canal's edge, where fishermen untangle nets under the soft glow of overhead lanterns. Water laps at the wooden pilings, carrying away the remnants of the night. Fallen petals, discarded offerings, and fleeting secrets. Above you, the ziggurat stands sentinel, its silhouette carved against the drifting clouds. You press a hand against the cool stone of a nearby column and feel its ancient memory humming beneath your palm. Tonight, Babylon dreamed collectively, weaving its hopes and fears into the night air. Tomorrow, the city will awaken to new bargains, fresh rivalries, and perhaps the distant rumble of that promised storm. Now, pause and breathe in the scent of jasmine and embers. Let the memory of this night settle in your bones, because when the sun rises again, Babylon's next chapter will unfold in ways even the gods couldn't predict. The first tendrils of dawn pull back the night's velvet curtain, revealing the city in a soft golden haze. You stand again on the processional way, but today the grandeur is tinged with urgency. Carts rumble along the street, drivers urging woolly beasts forward, while labourers haul crates stamped with exotic seals, figs from the Levant, tin from Anatolia, and barrels of oil thick as honey. This is Babylon's mercantile heartbeat, and you feel it as an insistent pulse beneath your feet. From your vantage near the Ishtar Gate, you witness the theatrical drama of commerce unfolding. A column of Elamite traders in crimson cloaks disembarks from a caravan, their camels laden with copper ingots. They unfurl bolts of silk so vibrant it seems to glow in the morning light. Nearby, Akkadian dockmasters tally clay tablets recording yesterday's trade, an ancient spreadsheet tracking goods, prices, and debts. You wonder how many market crashes have been hidden within those grooves of wet clay. Step into the open-air bazaar and sense the intoxicating blend of possibility and peril. Clay benches groan under the weight of gemstones, tiny lapis oozing azure, glinting garnets, and pearls plucked from distant seas. Each vendor hawks wares with practised flair. For the discerning noble, only 6 shekels. You hear through the cacophony, punctuated by haggles as sharp as dagger strikes. Sweep past a spice merchant whose pyramid of saffron stains the air sweet and golden, then slip between stalls piled with ostrich eggshell goblets, each a canvas for painted stories of Gilgamesh's exploits. Pause at a caravanserai tucked off the main thoroughfare, where travellers collapse onto woven mats after nights in the desert. They speak in tongues you barely recognise, languages stitched together by hope and hardship. A Nubian eunuch adjusts his borrowed tunic, recounting tales of a Persian princess he served. A pair of Mesopotamian artisans swap jokes about the governor's latest tax decree. You catch a snippet, some secret coinage movement under moonlight, rumoured to fund a coup. Your pulse quickens. Even in the humblest alcove, power plays unfurl like tendrils of smoke. As the sun ascends, the heat intensifies, driving you toward the city's northern gates and the sprawling fields beyond. Here, irrigation channels fan out like a spider's web, feeding fields of barley and date palms. Farmers squat by earthen banks, guiding water with woven reed wands, whispering words of blessing to ensure a bountiful harvest. The occasional shout of a labourer rings out, an oxen team gone astray, or maybe a stray river snake sliding into the water. The farmhands laugh it off, but you sense their lives hinge on these delicate balances of nature and diligence. Return to the walls just in time to witness a ceremonial inspection of the city guard. Armed with bronze spears and leather shields stamped with the royal emblem, the soldiers stand in rigid lines. The commander, a stern-faced woman known as Malakitum, walks the ranks on a raised platform, nodding curtly at those whose armour gleams and frowning at the few whose sandals are patched. Rumour has it she's under orders to root out corruption, several captains whispered to be in league with rebellious nobles. As she passes, she catches your eye for a flicker of recognition. Did she once see you in the tavern last night? Or is her gaze scanning for spies? You tread carefully, recalling the storyteller's ominous words from the festival. By midday, you're drawn toward the Scholars' Enclave again, where a debate rages among Babylon's brightest minds. Astronomers argue over the interpretation of Ursa Major's trajectory, while scribes demonstrate a new shorthand technique that promises to speed tablet production. A foreign envoy from Dilmun gestures passionately, trying to broker a treaty to secure mineral rights. The air crackles with possibility and competition. Alliances form and fracture in the space of a whispered phrase. You note their gestures, inscribed on papyrus scrolls to be archived in the Great Library, an immortal record of ambition. A sudden trumpet blast interrupts the discourse, sending pigeons flapping skyward from the courtyard. Messengers rush in, bearing news of an uprising at the far eastern gate. A group of conscripts has refused orders, citing unpaid wages and harsh treatment. Soldiers sprint toward the gate, their spears thrusting like porcupine quills. Instinctively, you follow the commotion, weaving through narrow alleys until you reach the gate's heavy wooden doors. They stand ajar, and through the gap you glimpse a swarm of villagers clutching makeshift clubs, their faces contorted with desperation. You edge closer, heart pounding. A grizzled sergeant stands firm, pleading for calm, but the crowd's fury is too raw. A hush falls as both sides assess each other. You catch the scent of sweat and fear, see the glint of tears on dust-streaked cheeks. In that tense moment, a single voice, small but clear, calls out from the throng, "Listen to our plight." Silence descends and all eyes shift, waiting to see whether reason will prevail, or whether the storm foretold by the moonlit ritual will break upon these gates in a torrent of blood. Breathe that moment in, let its weight settle in your chest. Babylon is alive, every corner a crucible of stories, some ripe for telling, others buried beneath the rubble of history, and though the sun's glare is unrelenting, you cannot look away. The city beckons, its secrets dangling before you like forbidden fruit. Required mid-journey note inserted here. This story took us a long time to gather. If you're finding it worth the cold, subscribe, and now, back to the hearth. As the first rays of sun crown the battered eastern gate, you slip through the narrow breach where villagers and soldiers still stand frozen, tense as coiled springs. Your heart hammers as you survey the scene. Makeshift clubs in trembling hands, shields dented from yesterday's drills, and the dusty faces of conscripts, young men whose eyes betray hope turning to despair. A hush grips the crowds before a grizzled veteran steps forward, voice like cracked stone. "Speak your grievances and be heard." His tone bridges fear and authority, forcing silence that buzzes in your ears. A thin man in ragged robes steps into the circle, clutching a clay tablet. "We've laboured since dawn, yet our wages lie buried in the governor's vaults. We build these walls, and still our families starve." He slams the tablet on the ground, dust billowing like a miniature storm. You feel the heat rise, not just from the day's early sun, but from the raw energy pulsing through the crowd. Mothers clutch infants, merchants glance anxiously toward the bazaar, and somewhere in the distance a horn sounds the approach of cavalry reinforcements. It's a tipping point. Will these voices be drowned out, or will they ignite a conflagration that spreads beyond Babylon's mud-brick confines? Before the tension boils over, a contingent of priests arrives, led by a robed figure whose serene countenance belies the turmoil. He raises a hand, and the conscripts lower their makeshift weapons, curiosity momentarily outweighing rage. "Let us bear witness to your struggle," he intones, voice resonant with authority. "But first, we must offer a ritual before Nergal, lord of war and pestilence, to ensure peace prevails." Whispers ripple, some sceptical, others hopeful. The makeshift altar is erected, a flat stone draped in red cloth, atop which sits a bowl of barley and a carved statuette of the god. You watch as the priest sprinkles water, murmuring incantations older than the ziggurat's first brick. Participants bow, suspicion softened by solemnity. Even the young conscripts kneel, eyes closed, sacrificing pride to faith. From behind the altar, a deep voice booms, "May Nergal witness our plea." A drum echoes in reply. The ceremony weaves a fragile truce, and the veteran bids the crowd disperse peacefully. Some villagers exchange wary glances, but they step back, relinquishing their clubs as the priests lead them to the market's edge. Later, you navigate the winding alleys toward the palace precinct, drawn by rumours of sacred secrets hidden within the temple archives. Guards clad in scale armour eye you warily, but a wry nod from a familiar scribe grants passage. The hush inside the archive hall is suffocating. Rows upon rows of clay tablets, papyrus scrolls, and sacred artifacts bathed in muted torchlight. The scribe guides you to a locked chamber carved into the thick wall. "Here lies the record of shadows," he whispers, "tales too dangerous for public eyes." With a precise keystone turn, the door creaks open to reveal tablets inscribed with forbidden prophecies, earthquakes that would cleave the earth, stars that would fall like rain, and whispers of Babylon's eventual undoing. You run a finger along the grooves, every glyph a weight pressing into your consciousness. A sudden clatter echoes. The scribe gasps. "They've discovered our intrusion." Panic surges as torches flicker in the hallway. You snatch a tablet, hastily stuffing it beneath your cloak. The priest's ritual may have brought peace, but the palace's corridors now thrum with urgency. Racing through dim, lantern-lit passages, you nearly collide with a patrol of armoured guards. The tablet burns against your chest, yet you force a calm smile. "Routine inspection," you lie, voice steady. They jab spears at your ribs, sharp metal grazing skin, but step aside when the scribe offers a forged permit carved on fresh clay. Emerging into daylight, you exhale, mind racing with the cryptic images from the record. Babylon thrives on the balance of faith and fear, commerce and conspiracy. Yet below the surface, currents swirl, omens foretelling turmoil that only the bravest dare decode. From here, the archive's shadows will guide us deeper into Babylon's heart. Secret cults, hidden passageways beneath the ziggurat, and the whispers of gods plotting in the dark. So stoke the embers of curiosity and prepare to step through the next threshold of mystery. In the hushed aftermath of the archive's alarm, you slip through a concealed passage carved into the ancient stone beneath the ziggurat's base. The air here is cool and damp, carrying the distant drip of water and the faint echo of footsteps above. Your torch flickers, casting elongated shadows across walls etched with faded pictographs, scenes of kings ascending staircases, gods descending in chariots, and silent figures performing rites that shimmer at the edge of memory. Step lightly, for the floor underfoot is uneven, worn smooth in places by centuries of clandestine pilgrims. In the torch's glow, you notice niches cut into the rock, once housing offerings of oil and frankincense. A single burnt wick remains, a testament to prayers whispered long ago. The smell of smoke lingers, mingling with the earthy scent of damp clay and something else, an undercurrent of metal, perhaps from rusted hinges or the iron tools used by long-dead workers. As you follow the winding corridor, a low hum begins, as if the stones themselves murmur secrets. You pause before a sealed door reinforced with bronze bands. The glyphs above it warn, "Here lie the names of the fallen." Pushing gently, you feel the door give, and a faint creak resonates down the hall. Beyond, a narrow chamber stretches out, its floor littered with broken fragments of clay and shattered pottery, remnants of offerings smashed or discarded. In the chamber's centre stands a stone dais, atop which rests a scroll case sealed in gilded bronze. Carefully you break the seal and unroll the scroll within. It bears a list of nobles exiled for treason, each name scored out with a single slash. Their crimes, insurrection, heresy, misuse of temple funds, are recorded in meticulous script. But at the bottom is a final entry, unblemished. One more awaits. The gravity of that line presses on your chest as if the ziggurat itself exhales a silent warning. Retracing your steps, you encounter a fork in the tunnel. To the left, a narrow stairway spirals upward, likely returning to the temple's lower levels. To the right, a descending passage leads deeper into the bedrock, where legends speak of an underground spring with water said to grant visions. You hesitate. One path could bring you closer to daylight and safety, the other dips into the unknown, promise mingled with peril. Opting for vision over escape, you head down. The air grows cooler still, and moisture beads on the walls. Faint phosphorescence glows along the damp stones, like starlight guiding your way. After several minutes, you reach a cavernous chamber, its ceiling lost in darkness. At the far end, a pool of clear water reflects your torch's flicker, each ripple distorting the flame into twisting shapes. Approaching, you peer into the depths and see more than your reflection. Faces, men and women from centuries past, blur and sharpen in the water's surface. A priestess chanting in an unknown tongue, a rebellious noble brandishing a dagger, a weeping widow pouring oil over a tablet. The images shift swiftly, then coalesce into a single vision. The ziggurat collapsing stone by stone, dust clouds rising like spectral wings. The vision ends, leaving the chamber silent and your heart pounding. You withdraw, mind racing. Was it a prophecy or a warning? The scroll's final entry and this vision seem entwined. Behind you, the hum returns, as if the stones murmur their own counsel. You rise, resolve hardening. This knowledge cannot remain hidden, yet exposing it could ignite the very upheaval you've witnessed. Choosing your path, you ascend the stairway, each step echoing off the walls until you emerge into a cloistered courtyard within the temple precinct. The morning sun pours through latticed skylights, illuminating carved reliefs of worshippers offering sacrifice. A lone acolyte enters, pausing to place fresh flowers at a shrine. He offers a silent prayer, unaware that his sanctuary harbours secrets that could shatter a kingdom. You tuck the scroll case inside your cloak and step back into the bustle of Babylon's streets, where everyday life unfolds with indifferent rhythm. Market cries, clattering chariots, and the rhythmic thud of a builder's hammer fill the air, masking the weight of the hidden truths you carry. The world above remains blissfully unaware. Priests may preach divine order, traders chase profit, and soldiers keep their watch, yet beneath their feet, destiny churns in shadow. Pause now. Let the contrast sink in. The city's surface splendours and the subterranean revelations entwined like roots of an ancient tree. Babylon's heart beats on. Its fate rests on choices made in light and darkness alike. And as the ziggurat's topmost terrace glimmers against the afternoon sky, you realise your role in this tapestry is just beginning. Dawn brings a renewed cadence to Babylon as you navigate toward the sacred courtyard, where the festival of renewal is unfolding. The air shimmers with anticipation. Banners woven from dyed linen flutter overhead, each bearing symbols of fertility and rebirth. Budding lotus flowers, sprouting barley shoots, and the moon's crescent cradling a newborn calf. Musicians tune their instruments, harps, lyres, and reed pipes casting a lilting soundtrack that weaves through the crowd like a living tapestry. You find a vantage point near the central altar, where the high priestess of Ishtar, draped in robes the hue of dawn, prepares the ceremonial flame. Around her, attendants arrange offerings, bowls of pomegranate seeds, fresh goat cheese, and trays of honey-soaked pastries. The scent is heady, tangy fruit mingling with sweet syrup and the faint smokiness of incense. You almost expect the air to vibrate, charged with divine promise. As the priestess lifts her arms, silence descends like a mantle. She strikes flint against steel, and the ceremonial torch ignites with a flame as blue as the Euphrates at midnight. Gasps ripple through the crowd, flames danced upon by unseen winds, yet never flickering. The high priestess raises the torch aloft, proclaiming, "By Ishtar's grace may Babylon's land bloom anew." The crowd erupts in jubilation, drums thundering once more, and you're swept into a dance of celebration. Feet shuffle across flagstones worn smooth by centuries of devotion, yet no misstep mars the rhythm. Every participant, noble and commoner alike, moves as one organism, a living echo of the city's soul. In the throng, you overhear snippets of conversation. A baker proud of perfecting a new barley loaf recipe, artisans scheming to unveil their freshest wares, and a young scribe nervously awaiting word that his application to the Royal Library has been accepted. The festival is not just ritual, it's the social network that binds Babylon's disparate classes in a shared moment of hope. Suddenly, a hush falls again. From the palace steps emerges the governor himself, flanked by his retinue. His presence commands attention. Murmurs ripple. Some hail him as a wise steward, others mutter about heavy taxes. He nods curtly, steps forward, and accepts the ceremonial torch, his face illuminated by its steady glow. The crowd bows as one, and you sense the delicate balance of power, between faith and rule, between public joy and private calculation. Yet beneath the euphoria, your mind turns to the scroll's dire prophecy and the subterranean vision of collapse. You wonder, can rituals of rebirth forestall the ruin foretold? Or are they mere distractions, gilded masks that hide fractures deep as bedrock? A sudden tremor rattles the courtyard, so faint that many dismiss it as an echo from the ziggurat stones. You freeze, heartbeat faltering as ripples cascade across the pool beside the altar, briefly distorting the priestess's reflection. She halts mid-chant, eyes widening, but the music resumes, albeit hesitantly, as the crowd's collective will overrides their unease. In that moment, you realize the festival's true essence, a bulwark against fear, a communal declaration that Babylon will endure. Whether the tremor was portent or happenstance matters less than the city's choice to dance in defiance. As the morning sun climbs, you slip away from the press of bodies, guided by the scent of roasting grains toward the marketplace. There you intend to meet a contact, a former scribe turned informant, who claims knowledge of a hidden council meeting tonight, where nobles will decide Babylon's fate. Your scroll and vision have given you purpose, to uncover whether they plan to heed the omen or exploit it for their own ends. The journey ahead will take you from jubilant heights to clandestine conclaves, through the sun-warmed streets and the moonlit roofs where secrets coil. For now, you carry the festival's ember within you, a spark to light the darker paths that lie ahead. Night drapes Babylon in velvet shadows as you slip through the silent streets toward the governor's palace. The moon is a sliver, its faint light guiding your footsteps over flagstones still warm from the day's sun. Alleyways yawning between mud brick walls are empty, save for the occasional cat slinking across rooftops. Each echo of your sandals sounds unnatural, as if the city itself holds its breath. A scribe you trust, cloak drawn tight against the night chill, awaits you beside the western gate. His face is pale, flickering under the guard's lantern. He hands you a sealed tablet, an invitation to an illicit council meeting in the Grand Hall. Inside, nobles plot beneath chandeliers dripping molten bitumen, their voices low but urgent. You slip past the guard, offering an unsteady bow, and enter the hall's cavernous interior. The chamber's grandeur is muted by candlelight, towering columns carved with bas-reliefs of ancient victories, tapestries depicting Gilgamesh's feats, and polished alabaster floors marred by hastily kicked-off sandals. At the far end, a semicircle of high-ranking nobles gathers around a mosaic of Babylon's city plan, tiny clay markers denoting granaries, temples, and the ziggurat's core. Among them sits the governor, flanked by his advisors, the head priest, the military commander Malachitum, and a foreign emissary draped in Persian finery. You inch forward, heart pounding. The governor's voice cuts through the hush. Our city stands at a precipice. The tremor at the festival was no fluke. Our priests confirm the prophecy. He taps the scroll case you recognize, the gilt bronze glinting under the lamplight. These signs demand action. His gaze slices through the assembled. You feel its weight even from distance. A murmur sweeps the room. The military commander rises, armor clinking softly. We can fortify the walls and rally the legions, but if the collapse is divine will, walls alone cannot endure. Her steely eyes scan the council, each noble's face shifting between resolve and dread. The emissary from Persia clears his throat. My king offers engineers and funds in exchange for trade concessions and exclusive rights to the mines of Akkad. A hush follows. Some nod in agreement, relishing the proffered wealth. Others bristle at foreign influence. You slip behind a column, tablet secure beneath your cloak, and strain to catch every word. The head priest's voice rises last. We must consult the oracle of Eanna before mortal hearts decide. The gods speak through flame and beam. They will tell us if Babylon's fate shall be sealed by stone or guided by grace. A hush falls as torches gutter in their sconces. You realize the council's decision will dictate the city's path, either clinging to earthbound defences or surrendering to divine decree. You grip the tablet, knowing its revelations could tip the balance. Let this moment linger. Nobles debating war and worship, destinies hanging upon a prophet's next utterance. Outside, the city sleeps under a blanket of stars, oblivious to the tempest brewing within its marble halls. It is here, in the hush before the oracle's voice, that you choose your next move. Share the scroll's secret, rally the commoners, or watch as history unfolds behind closed doors. Awake now if you dare. The council's vote is imminent, and Babylon awaits its verdict. The hush in the grand hall thickens like honey as the head priestess of Eanna steps forward, her robes trailing pale gold threads that catch the torchlight. You lean against a column, heart thundering louder than the distant drums of ceremony, waiting for her words. The nobles around the mosaic city plan shift uneasily, each clink of armour or rustle of silk magnified in the silence. By the will of Nabu, she intones, voice clear and unwavering. The signs are laid bare. The earth's tremors herald not only ruin, but the chance for renewal, if we align our actions with divine decree. She raises a carved tablet etched with new glyphs, an instruction to redistribute grain reserves to border settlements, fortify the city's weakest gates, and hold a triad of sacrifices at the ziggurat's base. A ripple of reaction courses through the council. The military commander Malachitum nods firmly, while the Persian emissary's brow furrows. His king's offer seems at odds with divine mandate. The governor's lips tighten. Political gain wrestles with piety in his eyes. You catch the glint of sweat on his temple as he processes the decree. But priestess, the emissary speaks, voice edged, redistributing grain risks famine elsewhere, and public sacrifice. Our people may bristle under such austerity. Murmurs echo. Some nobles exchange anxious glances. Yet the priestess stands unmoved, torchlight illuminating her resolve. Let the gods guide us, she replies softly. Yet the room falls silent again, her faith a tether binding the council amid brewing discord. You slip from your hiding spot and step closer, mindful of the tablet under your cloak. The scroll's prophecy, the chamber's vision, they demanded action, yet how to reveal them without igniting fear? Your pulse quickens as you slip the scroll onto the mosaic map, right beside the governor's marker. When he reaches to adjust a clay cone denoting the eastern gate, he brushes against your sleeve. His gaze meets yours, an unspoken question. You offer a subtle nod toward the scroll. He pauses, picks it up discreetly, unfurling it under the table's shadow. The council's focus shifts as he clears his throat. This council must consider all evidence, he begins, voice steady, including this. He holds the scroll aloft and gasps ripple. A vision older than our records, foretelling the ziggurat's collapse unless we unite. Chaos erupts. Voices clash like metal on stone. Some nobles demand the scroll's removal, labelling it heretical. Others hail you as saviour, heralding truth. The priestess raises her hand, chanting a plea for calm. The commander orders guards to encircle dissenters. The emissary seethes, expression tight. In the tumult you glance toward the hidden exit. Your contact is here, waiting in the courtyard. The governor's eyes lock with yours again, a silent pact forged. Reveal the depths of the prophecy to the city council, then slip away before the tide turns you into a scapegoat. Breathe deeply. The oracle's decree and the scroll have converged, forcing Babylon's rulers to confront both divine will and mortal ambition. Outside, the city's lanterns flicker in the night breeze, unaware of the storm of politics and prophecy unfurling within these walls. Step forward. Your next move will shape whether Babylon stands in unity or fractures under fear. The gods have spoken. Will you ensure their edict is heeded, or watch as power eclipses piety in a dance older than history itself? The night's final embers fade as you descend the palace steps, each footfall echoing in tandem with your racing thoughts. The scroll's revelation still pulses beneath your cloak, a heavy throb of possibility and peril. Above, the council's chamber doors remain sealed, its occupants locked in debate, but Babylon's real contest now brews beyond the walls, in the lantern-lit alleys, the marketplaces, the kneeling circles in hidden courtyards. You pause at the eastern gate, its massive wood scarred from yesterday's skirmish. Guards patrol its ramparts, faces set in grim lines, whispering rumours of rumours, that conscripts once enlisted have now roamed free, emboldened by the council's indecision. A faint clatter of metal draws your gaze to a roadside forge where a smith hammers horseshoes to rally the cavalry's mounts. Each clang a defiant beat against the drum of anxiety. A soft voice calls your name. Your informant from the festival, a wiry youth named Dananu, steps from the shadows. His eyes dart like startled birds. "They're gathering," he hisses, glancing over his shoulder. "The commoners, they sense change in the air. At dawn, they'll swarm the granaries unless someone speaks for them." He holds out a folded parchment scrawled with names and meeting points, ink still damp. "We need a plan." You nod, heart constricted by urgency and hope. Together, you weave through narrow streets, the scent of baking barley and brewing beer guiding you to a hidden courtyard behind the fish market. There, a circle of villagers, craftsmen, farmers' wives, freed slaves, leans in around a sputtering brazier. Their faces reflect torchlight and desperation. A pregnant mother grips a clay tablet listing her family's owed rations. A blacksmith's arm bears the fresh scar of punishment for speaking out. You step into the circle, feeling dozens of eyes flick to the scroll's weight at your side. Raising a hand, you begin, "Friends, you are not alone." The council knows of your suffering and they tremble as we do. Tonight we stand at a crossroads. Will Babylon crumble from neglect, or will we shape its future? The brazier's sparks drift upward like distant stars as murmurs swell into determined shouts. "Tell us what to do!" Before you can answer, distant horns blast the alarm. Guards racing toward the marketplace, their torches carving jittery patterns in the pre-dawn gloom. Dananu yelps. "They found the leaflet! The nobles sent patrols to hush us. Now it's turning violent." You sprint toward the uproar, cloak billowing like a banner. The fish market plaza is chaos incarnate. Vendors shove carts, hides skitter over cobblestones, and a phalanx of armoured soldiers forms a loose cordon around the granary gates. A wounded conscript staggers, clutching his side, while merchants clutch sacks of grain like lifelines. Stepping onto a crate, you call out, "People of Babylon, listen!" The clamour stills, blades of torchlight converging on your raised hand. The council has decreed your pleas must be heard, but peace demands negotiation, not bloodshed. Lay down your arms, and I will lead your petition to the governor himself. Silence stretches, taut as a bowstring. Then a veteran farmer, his beard flecked with grey clay, shouts, "If you bring us change, we will follow. Speak truth, or let us deal with tyrants ourselves." The soldiers lower their spears uncertain. The moment hangs between revolt and reprieve, your words the fulcrum upon which Babylon will pivot. Breathe in the market's tension, each breath a decision, each heartbeat a verdict. Will this petition kindle cooperation, or ignite rebellion. As dawn's first light fractures the horizon, you realize the city's destiny awaits not in marble halls, but here, in the mud and fervour of its streets. Babylon watches, poised between order and upheaval, ready for you to tip its scales. The sky blushes with dawn's first light as you stand once more in the heart of Babylon, where yesterday's tension still hangs in the air like a stubborn fog. From your vantage atop a low platform fashioned from overturned crates, you watch the farmers, craftsmen, and freed slaves gather in a loose assembly before the granaries. Their faces, stoic in the first waking glow, now ripple with cautious hope. You clear your throat, heart steadying as dozens of pairs of eyes fix on you. Lives hinge on the words you issue. Friends, citizens of Babylon, you begin, voice carrying over the hush. Last night's petition reached the governor's ears. He has agreed to meet you here, under these flapping banners, to negotiate fair distribution of grain and relief from exorbitant taxes. The mention of taxes elicits murmurs, some mutter relief, others scoff in disbelief. Yet shoulders straighten, resolve kindles in their gaze. A sudden clatter interrupts you as city guards, spear tips glinting, form a guarded corridor toward the granary plaza's centre. At their head strides the governor, robes rustling, cavalry mace slung at his hip. He scans the crowd, expression unreadable. Next to him, Malakittum stands at attention, her armour catching the early sun like wet stone. The governor raises a hand and silence descends, punctuated only by the soft wind. I hear your cries, he addresses the crowd, voice smooth yet weighted with the gravity of responsibility. Babylon stands at a crossroads. To my advisers, I commend order and stability. To my people, I owe compassion. He pauses, letting both factions in the crowd digest the words. You sense the tension between his political advisers and the populace writ across every strained posture. A merchant steps forward, clutching a ledger and scroll. His voice cracks with passion. My lord, the people cannot eat promises. We need immediate distribution of 5 days' worth of grain from the temple reserves. He brandishes the ledger, ink smudged from anxious hands. Behind him, mothers hold children by the hand, eyes bright with desperate pleading. The head priestess emerges next, flanked by acolytes bearing bowls of barley and earthenware ladles. She kneels before the governor, offering one bowl. The temple stands ready, she proclaims softly. Let the grain flow not only to fill stomachs, but to nourish faith in our covenant with the gods. Her calm presence tempers the crowd's fervour. Even the merchant bows his head in deference. Malakittum steps forth, voice firm, my lord, while we appease the people, we cannot abandon defences. Let us agree to authorise half our grain reserves for the needy, while the remainder ensures our city withstands any border threats. The crowd shifts uneasily at talk of defence. It's clear their priorities diverge from the military's. You watch the governor weigh each plea. His gaze flicks between the petitioners' harsh faces, the priestess's serene offering, and the commander's stoic duty. At last he sighs and addresses you directly. You, whose name I have yet to learn, help me ensure this accord. Will you guide these terms to fairness? Surprise ripples through the assembly, honour bestowed upon an outsider. You step forward, voice steady. My name is yours alone, but my duty is to Babylon. Let us craft terms that blend mercy and security. 3 days of grain today, 3 more within a fortnight. Reduced taxes for artisans and smallholders, and in return the militia will receive rations to protect our walls. A hush falls, this compromise dangling between relief and responsibility. The governor nods slowly, quill outstretched. So be it. He snatches the quill, inks it swiftly, and inscribes the clay tablet bound with leather straps. Once sealed, he raises it for all to see. Cheers erupt, echoing off walls of mud brick and stone, a round of fervent relief. Yet even as arms rise in triumph, you catch the governor's tightened brow, a silent question of whether such compromise will hold. Dispersing the crowd, you join the head priestess as she distributes the first bowls of barley. The grateful faces of recipients light the morning, but every smile is edged with uncertainty. Will the next fortnight bring promise or betrayal? Amid the jubilation, Dananu finds you, breathless. They're calling for further reforms, extension of the city's water rights, amnesty for last night's conscripts. His voice trails as he lists demands growing like vines across Babylon's fragile peace. You realise your work is far from over. In negotiating these terms, you've stitched a patch over a fraying tapestry, sufficient for now, but requiring constant care lest Babylon's fabric unravel once more. As the sun climbs higher, the city awakens fully, its pulse renewed, yet fraught with latent tensions. Pause now, take in the tableau. Satisfied citizens clutching their clay bowls, soldiers standing guard over the distributing priesthood, and nobles skulking behind palace gates, their alliances reforged. This dawn marks a new chapter, one of cautious hope, tempered by the knowledge that compromise is a living thing, demanding vigilance and courage with each passing day. By midday, the sun broils Babylon's mud-brick walls. But the promise of water brings a welcome reprieve. You traverse the labyrinthine network of canals, where the Euphrates' lifeblood flows beneath wooden walkways and carved stone sluices. Palm fronds cast dancing shadows on woven reed platforms, and the scent of damp earth mingles with the sweet aroma of ripening dates piled high at riverside stalls. Your destination is the Water Court, a stepped pavilion where citizens present petitions for irrigation rights. Farmers lean on polished basalt pillars, awaiting their turn to address the water judge, a stern woman whose intricate headdress mimics the concentric flow of the canals. Beside her, scribes churn out clay tablets, recording petitions, permission to divert a channel toward new palm groves, requests to dredge silted basins, pleas to repair breaches in community embankments. You join the line, the scroll case tucked beneath your cloak, and survey your fellow petitioners, a weaver pleading for steady water to dye her silks, a vintner arguing that his grapevines cannot thrive on sporadic floods, and a father seeking permission to irrigate a plot where his children may plant barley. Their voices rise and fall in earnest cadences, their eyes gleam with desperation and determination. At the head of the line, the water judge hears a farmer detail how the canal's upper sluice was closed to preserve palace gardens, starving downstream fields. She nods, dipping her stylus in ink, then frowns. The palace's need is paramount, she declares, but so is the people's. We must balance both. Her voice echoes across the pavilion and murmurs ripple, some hopeful, some jeering at the perceived favouritism. Eager to press your own attempt to shift power toward the commons, you step forward when summoned. Presenting the scroll's vision and the governor's recent accord, you argue, by the decree of the head priestess and the governor's own pen, water allocations for agriculture should reflect the same spirit of compromise as grain distribution. Without irrigation, our fields will parch, and this city will hunger anew. The judge narrows her eyes, glancing at the scroll, then at the governor's tablet displayed beside her. The tension is palpable. After a moment's suspense, she dismisses the queue, ordering workshops established to clear blocked channels and setting quotas that grant marginal plots an extra measure of water. The crowd gaps in astonishment. Your argument has won a rare victory. Stepping away, you almost collide with a cloaked figure who presses a folded note into your palm before vanishing into the crowd. Breaking its seal, you unfold a message scrawled in hurried script. Join us at the Southern Bridge tonight. There, the true architects of Babylon's fate convene. No signature, just the promise of deeper intrigue. The afternoon wanes as you patrol the canal-side paths. You pass by schools of carp darting through clear water, children scooping them with woven baskets, and boatmen ferrying clay jugs of fresh water to temples in need. In every ripple you sense whispered plots, merchants scheming to monopolize fish stocks, priests planning secret offerings to curry favour with Nabu, and perhaps nobles convening in hidden alcoves to revisit last night's council. As shadows lengthen, you mull over alliances forged in light. Grain for the masses, water for the fields, and recognise the undercurrent of power that flows beneath Babylon's surface. The city thrives on both, a symphony of negotiation and control, woven through every canal bank and irrigation channel. Now, brace yourself for the night's call. At the Southern Bridge, you will tread where electric conspiracies flicker in the darkness, and where the next chord in Babylon's saga is struck. Gather your resolve, for the fate of the city may flow from these whispered corridors as surely as water courses through its veins. Night has swallowed Babylon whole as you approach the Southern Bridge, its stone arches rising from the dark waters of the Euphrates like silent sentinels. The air is thick with the scent of lotus and damp stone. a heady reminder that beneath the city's lighted facades lies a labyrinth of clandestine corridors. You pull your cloak tighter, matching your footsteps to the gentle lapping of the river against the pilings. A solitary lantern swings at the bridge's midpoint, casting a pool of golden light across the cobblestones. Beneath its glow, cloaked figures gather in a crescent, their muffled whispers drifting upward like ripples. You step into the circle, heart pounding, and recognise several familiar faces. Dananu, his eyes bright with determination, a former palace guard, her breastplate swapped for simple tunic, and a pair of scribes, one known for his devotion to Nabu, the other infamous for forging palace documents. Dananu nods curtly and gestures to a low stone ledge. You settle beside him, noting the tension in every taut line of their cloaks, as though each stitch were a secret waiting to unravel. "We have called you here," Dananu begins, voice hushed but firm, "because Babylon stands at a crossroads. The council's verdict and the oracle's decree have evened the scales, but now we bear witness to how those actions will be enforced." From beneath his cloak he produces a series of wax-sealed tablets. He sets them on the stone, each stamped with distinct insignia: the governor's seal, the head priestess's mark, and Malokitum's military crest. These documents outline the new grain distribution, water rights, and defence initiatives. But they must be enforced beyond hollow promises. We propose the formation of a citizen vanguard, a council of merchants, farmers, priests and soldiers to oversee implementation in every quarter of the city. A murmur ripples through the group. The palace guard turned rebel furrows her brow. "And if the nobles balk," she asks, voice low, "if they see our citizen vanguard as a threat to their authority, they'll move to crush it, and us with it." Here you interject. The scroll's prophecy warned that Babylon's fate would hinge on unity between people and power. This vanguard can bridge that divide, ensuring no gate is left undefended, no granary left empty, no canal left dry. But we must secure allies within the palace. Merchants who fund distribution, priests who sanctify the effort, and soldiers loyal to the common good. The Nabu scribe leans forward, torchlight glinting on his stylus. "I can redistribute copies of the governor's tablet throughout the city's wards," he offers, "so the people know their rights. And I can alter palace logs to track actual grain deliveries, preventing hoarding." The other scribe shakes his head. "That is risky. If discovered, it would be treason, and they would hang us both." A tense silence stretches until Dananu places a hand on the scribe's shoulder. Better to hang knowing you fought for justice than to die silent under tyranny. His conviction radiates outward, warming the cold night air. You stand, voice carrying across the water. "Then let us set our plan. Tonight, we distribute copies of the decrees in each district, starting with the granaries and water courts. Tomorrow at sunrise, representatives from each quarter will meet here to formalise the vanguard and swear an oath to uphold Babylon's unity and prosperity." Heads nod in unison. The former guard draws a dagger, its blade catching the lantern's flame. "Then let this blade bind us," she intones, as each member touches it in turn, forging a silent pact. The lantern flickers, wind rising through the arches with soft urgency. You sense the current of the river below, steady, unyielding, carrying your gathering's resolve toward every corner of the city. In this fragile moment, beneath Babylon's moonlit arches, you glimpse the true power of the people united against the shifting sands of fate. You slip back into the shadows as the conclave disperses, each member returning to their district to sow the seeds of change. Above, the clouds part for a sliver of moon, illuminating the bridge's stonework in silver. Babylon has chosen a new path, one born not solely of palace edicts or priestly omens, but of common resolve etched in the hearts of its citizens. Pause to feel the river's murmur beneath your feet. Here, at this southern bridge, the currents of rebellion and reform converge. The real work begins at dawn, when every neighbour will ask, will we stand divided, or will we bind ourselves together as the citizen vanguard of Babylon? The first light of dawn creeps over the ziggurat's terraces as you make your way to the southern bridge, now the appointed meeting place for the citizen vanguard. The lanterns from last night's conclave have cooled to embers, and the air carries a crisp promise of new beginnings. Dawn chorus weaves through palm fronds, a chorus of birds heralding the day, but beneath their song thrums the shared heartbeat of a city poised for transformation. You arrive to find a makeshift dais erected on the bridge's midpoint, a carved stone slab draped in white linen and bound with cords of ochre-dyed wool. Representatives from each district stand arrayed, farmers in sun-bleached tunics, merchants with satchels of tokens, priests bearing small oil lamps, and soldiers still donned in light cuirasses. Each face reflects a mixture of hope and wary determination, eyes flicking to you as you step forward. You clear your throat, voice carrying clearly in the morning hush. Today, we bind ourselves not just as petitioners, but as protectors of Babylon's promise, our oath, to uphold the grain accord, to safeguard the water rights, and to shield the city's walls, whether from flood, famine, or foe. Speak now, one from each quarter, that we may seal this covenant. A farmer's wife steps forward, clasping her palm calloused from tilling clay-rich soil. I, Ininu of the southern fields, pledge my hands and harvest to this cause. May no drought starve our children, and may unity water our roots. She presses her hand to her heart, then places it on the dais, the linen soaking, white turned soft brown by the promise of toil. Next, a merchant named Zaru, his robes trimmed with lapis edging and a pouch of coins at his belt, advances. I, Zaru of the Westgate Market, vow my wares and wealth to fairness. No granary shall hoard our sustenance, and no price shall gouge our neighbour's need. He taps the linen, the metal of coins chiming against stone. A priest of Nabu approaches, voice resonant. I, Ilusaget, servant of the scribe god, seal this pact in ink and temple flame. Where justice flows, knowledge shall bloom. He lights a small lamp and lets a drop of oil fall onto the slab, its flicker a covenant with the divine. Finally, Malachitum's second in command, a young captain whose loyalty transcends rank, steps forward. I, Azar-Tu of the Iron Spear Guard, stand watch over our gates and our people. Let no invader breach our unity, and no conflict sunder our bonds. She lays a bronze shield fragment upon the cloth, its edge worn smooth by drills. As each pledge is laid, the dawn sun strengthens, light refracting through the oil lamp's glow, catching the shield's metal edge like a beacon. You raise your hand over the assembled. By these oaths, we become Babylon's vanguard. Together, we carry the city's heartbeat across every canal bank, through every palace hall, and into every home. A chorus of voices echoes your proclamation, together, as hands clasp across districts. The dais is left stained with oil, soil, grain, and metal, a living tapestry of shared resolve. Around you, Babylon stirs awake. Drifters carry scrolls of the decree through narrow alleys. Ditch diggers ready their shovels at the watercourt. City watchmen station themselves at granary gates. The wheels of reform turn swiftly now, greased by collective will. You step back, breathing in the fragrance of dawn, the floral perfume of lotus floating from the river, the earthy aroma of freshly dug irrigation channels, and the distant scent of baking bread. Babylon's next chapter is no longer written by palace edict alone, but by the hands of its people, united in purpose and pledged to each other's welfare. Pause now and feel the crisp morning air fill your lungs. This dawn belongs to the citizen vanguard. Their oaths whispered beneath the southern bridge will echo through the city's arteries, ensuring that Babylon's heart beats stronger together. Morning light pours across Babylon's walls like liquid amber, yet beneath that glow lies the first tests of your newly formed citizen vanguard. You stand at the threshold of the central granary, where towers of clay jars brimming with barley await distribution. Farmers and labourers jostle at the gates, each clutching tokens earned through yesterday's negotiations. You raise a hand. 1 ration per token, steady now. Voices hush, then ripple forward in orderly lines, a testament to the power of compromise. But order is fragile. A merchant from the Western Bazaar storms the line, his ledger waving like a sword. These tokens are counterfeit, he bellows. Gasps rise as the guard captain, loyal to Malachitum, steps forward, spear poised. You intervene, voice steady. We will verify every token, but patience is our shield. Let the scribe examine your claims in the Hall of Records. The merchant seethes but falls silent. You sense the first crack in unity has opened. Leaving the granary, you traverse the muddy thoroughfare toward the northern canals, where water court officers test the citizen vanguard's resolutions. Ditches cleared, sluice gates open. but tensions simmer when a wealthy vintner discovers his new channel diverts more than his share. His emissary confronts the water judge. "This breach will ruin my prize vines." Spending a moment to recall the water court's compromise, you broker a deal. Supplemental flows at dusk to protect both fields and fairness. By midday, rumours swirl that palace officials have petitioned the council to retract half the grain allotment, accusing the vanguard of fomenting unrest. A hush sweeps through the eastern marketplace, where vendors whisper of conspiracy. You dispatch Denanu to gather evidence, while you convene a meeting of district representatives in the Temple of Nabu's shadow, hoping divine oversight can temper mortal ambition. Inside the vaulted annex, gilded tablets and starlit mosaics gleam under lantern light. Here, you present the merchant's ledger and the vineyard emissary's plea, arguing that the vanguard's strength lies in transparency. The head priestess of Iana listens, her gaze inscrutable. When you finish, she intones, "Let these matters be recorded in the annals of the gods. If any man or woman breaches the sacred pact of unity, their names will be cast from our memory." Her decree binds nobles and commoners alike. Yet as evening approaches, shadows lengthen along the city walls. Reports reach you that a foreign envoy from Dilmun, outraged at lost trade privileges, has discreetly offered palace conspirators a bribe to dissolve the vanguard. Suspecting palace politics at play, you rally loyal guards and scribes to harness the scribe god's wisdom. Decoding secret correspondences by the flicker of oil lamps deep within the library's archivum. Night falls, and you stand before the ziggurat, its monolithic silhouette carved against the starlit sky. You press the scroll case, bearing the forbidden prophecies, against your chest. Unity has weathered its first trials, but darker tests lie ahead. Assassination attempts cloaked as accidents, grain shipments sabotaged under moonless skies, and whispers of a hidden cult seeking to turn the populace against the vanguard. Take a breath. Feel the ziggurat's weight overhead. Babylon's fate hinges on choices made at dawn, dusk, and every moment between. The road of reform is paved with vigilance and sacrifice. To hold the city's promise aloft, you must shepherd both hope and fear through the maelstrom of politics and power. When the next dawn breaks, the vanguard's true measure will be revealed. Will Babylon stand united, or will the fractures beneath its gleaming facade rip it apart? The journey continues, and your role grows ever more perilous in the trials to come. The sun edges past its zenith, gilding the mud brick parapets in searing light, yet beneath Babylon's brightness lurks a darkness of sabotage and whispered betrayal. You find yourself back along the eastern canal, where yesterday's victory feels precarious. Grain barges glide slowly beneath wooden gates, their hulls dulled by silt and strain, symbols now of both hope and threat. Approaching the dockside grain storehouse, you notice a small cluster of sacks piled near the entrance, too neat, too deliberate. When you kneel to inspect, your fingertips brush against a hidden seam, a slit just wide enough to spill precious barley. Eyes narrowing, you lift a sack, but its weight betrays emptiness. Someone has looted the people's ration before distribution. Heart pounding, you shout for a guard. Soldiers arrive, armour clinking in the hush. The captain's gaze flicks to you, unspeaking question in his eyes. You point to the slashed sacks, voice tight. Sabotage. Targeted to undermine the vanguard's goodwill. The captain nods gravely and orders the storehouse sealed until further inspection. You slip away, mind racing toward the southern bridge, site of the citizen vanguard's pledge, seeking counsel with Denanu and the former palace guard. On the way, you pass markets where merchants eye empty grain bins with mounting fear. A group of labourers argue over ration tokens, some accusing the scribes of forgery. Tension coils tighter than a serpent preparing to strike. At the bridge, Denanu waits beneath its arches, torchlight odd in midday. He unfurls a clay tablet smudged with wet ink. "False records," he whispers. "Someone's rewritten the distribution logs." His voice trembles. "If the people learn their bowls are empty due to palace intrigue, Babylon will erupt." You convene the vanguard's inner circle in the watery shadows of the arches. The former guard, breastplate abandoned for practicality, draws her blade lightly across her palm. "If we can't trust palace records, we must rewrite the story ourselves, show the people proof of our integrity." The Nabu scribe nods, already murmuring to hidden assistants lurking beyond the circle's glow. Your plan forms in a heartbeat. Commission new tablets, each inscribed with the governor's seal, the head priestess's mark, and the vanguard's emblem, detailing exact measures delivered to each district. These tablets will be publicly displayed in the central square by sunrise, stamping out lies before they take root. Before dusk, you race to the Hall of Records where echoes of clattering styluses greet you. The head scribe, once your ally, blocks your path, eyes suspicious. These seals, he says, voice cautious, were forged last night. The official clay is missing from the temple stores. Panic floods through you. Someone has anticipated your move, cutting off your most potent tool. Cornered amid dusty scrolls and half-finished tablets, you seize a fresh shaft of reed, slamming it down. "We need the temple's approval," you command. "Summon the head priestess, now!" Forked shafts of lamplight dance as scribes scatter. Moments later, the head priestess strides in, robes swirling like dawn's glow. She surveys the scene, calm as a placid pool. "I authorized the clay," she states, voice level, "but I did not authorize the seal's removal. This is palace treachery." She pulls a hidden scroll from her belt, an emergency warrant from the governor himself, empowering the vanguard to seize any official material used in sabotage. Armed with divine sanction, you reclaim the clay and the seal, confounding the saboteurs. The former guard rallies loyal scribes to your side, forging fresh tablets through the night, while Dananu arranges watch rotations to guard the displays. As dawn's first carven rays strike the central square, rows of tablets stand ready. Clear, unaltered records of grain, water and defense allocations validated by both temple and state. Citizens awaken to read the truth etched in clay, doubts dissolving beneath the sun's honesty. Yet even as the people gather, relief flickering in their eyes, you remember the knife's edge upon which this peace balances. The saboteur remains unseen, a shadow among shadows, and the scroll's prophecy still whispers of collapse. Babylon's unity endures, but only so long as vigilance outpaces treachery. Pause now and feel the morning air, the sense of baked barley, fresh clay turned in skilled hands, and the sharp tang of exposed betrayal. The vanguard stands united, but the work of rebuilding trust is only beginning, and darker trials await beyond the square's rising crowd. The city's heartbeat reverberates through the stone when you step into the Temple of Marduk's grand vestibule at mid-morning, its vaulted ceilings echoing prayers and petitions like distant thunder. Marble columns carved with the hero's exploits rise on either side, and the faint aroma of burning cedar lingers in the air. Here, you've been summoned by the head priestess in light of last night's sabotage, a chance to confront betrayal and steer Babylon back toward unity. You bow before the head priestess, whose serene countenance belies the urgency of your meeting. Behind her, acolytes arrange bowls of fresh grain and water, symbols of the city's newfound equity. "You have exposed the hollow heart of conspiracy," she begins, voice resonant. "Yet the roots run deep. Palace factions still vie for power." Her gaze drifts to the scroll case at your side. The forbidden prophecies weigh heavily. They demand more than mere reaction. They demand purpose. Beyond the vestibule, the temple courtyard is teeming with petitioners, widows seeking relief, merchants craving stability, farmers praying for steady irrigation. Their murmurs swirl like dry leaves, but your attention is drawn to a solitary figure skulking near a fountain. One of the palace scribes who aided the sabotage, her eyes darting as she clutches a hidden tablet. You step forward, summoning the courage to call her out. "Why betray your city?" you ask, voice firm. The scribe's shoulders slump. She releases the tablet, script smeared as though she tried to erase her tracks. "They promised power, wealth beyond imagining. They said Babylon would fall only to be rebuilt in their image." Her confession hangs in the air like a thunderclap. Before you can respond, the head priestess raises a hand. "Let her speak," she commands. "Every betrayal can lead to renewal if we choose mercy." The scribe's voice trembles as she recounts how nobles sought to fracture public trust, using sabotage to discredit the vanguard and restore aristocratic privilege. Silence settles. Then you speak. "This thread of treachery can be rewoven into strength. We must bring these nobles before the council, unveil their plot in the light of day, and offer them clemency in exchange for genuine service." Even as the words leave your lips, you sense their weight. The risk of empowering potential traitors balanced against the power of forgiveness. The head priestess nods slowly. Mercy is a blade as sharp as any sword. Let us wield it wisely. She gestures to her acolyte, who raises a clay tablet stamped with the governor's seal. Draft the Edict of Reconciliation. Exile for those who refuse service. Public restoration for those who atone. The path of redemption must be clear. While scribes gather, you step out into the courtyard, scroll case in hand, and raise your voice so every ear in the temple grounds can hear. Babylon is not built on vengeance, but on shared destiny. Today, we cast light upon the darkness, and we choose to rise together. A hush falls, broken by a ripple of applause, tentative but true. As dusk approaches, messengers carry the new edict through the city, to the palace gates, the grain stores, the water courts, and the marketplace. Every tile of Babylon's mosaic hears the call to unity, or faces exile's dust. You watch as public notice boards fill with clay tablets bearing the decree, while palace gates brace for confrontation. Under the fading light, you retreat to the southern bridge, where the citizen vanguard first took oath. The river's current murmurs beneath your feet, a timeless witness. In your hand, the scroll's prophecies pulse softly, a reminder that the future remains unwritten. Babylon's fate hinges now on this moment of mercy and resolve, where betrayal becomes the forge of true unity. Breathe deeply. Feel the evening breeze stir the water's reflection beneath you. Babylon stands at the threshold of redemption, or relapse, and the choices made tonight will echo through the ages, carried on tides of change far beyond these ancient stones. The first light of dawn filters through the latticed windows of the governor's hall, casting a latticework of shadow upon the polished stone floor. Outside, torchbearers ferry fresh water and grain to districts across Babylon, an ordered procession born of last night's reconciliation. Yet within these grand chambers, murmurs of unrest persist like embers refusing to die. You step across the threshold, scroll case tucked beneath your cloak, and find the governor seated at a long table carved from crimson cedar. Across from him, nobles once complicit in sabotage stand arrayed, heads bowed, fingers drumming upon clay tablets. The head priestess presides at the table's head, her gaze calm but unyielding. "You are here to honour your oath," the governor intones, voice resonant, "to serve the Commonwealth and to atone for your betrayal." He gestures to a tablet detailing community projects, repairing embankments, rebuilding granaries in border towns, and supervising the citizen vanguard's watch posts. Your service begins now. A hush falls as each noble recites his or her assigned task. A wealthy landowner vows to fund the irrigation of parched fields, a merchant pledges to reroute trade caravans through famine-stricken villages, and a high-ranking official agrees to supervise the temple's grain reserves. Each name, once crossed out in the record of shadows, is now inscribed anew in the book of service. You observe the transformations, feeling the weight of change settle upon the palace air. Yet as the last oath is uttered, a faint tremor ripples through the hall, so subtle that only those attuned to prophecy perceive its tremor. The governor flinches, the priestess's lips part in silent recognition. "An omen," she whispers, "the earth stirs once more." The nobles exchange uneasy glances. If these tasks are not completed with integrity, Babylon may yet fracture beneath our feet. With solemn nods, you guide the exiled nobles from the chamber, each now an emissary of renewal. Outside, the city pulses with activity. Masons replace crumbling bricks along the northern wall, farmers channel restored waters into parched fields, and children carry clay basins for communal feasts celebrating unity. Amid the bustle, you retreat to a quiet courtyard shaded by date palms. There, Dananu waits, eyes dark with concern. He unfurls a fresh tablet. Reports of foreign envoys circling the city walls, bearing gifts that whisper of renewed ambitions. Nearby, merchants speak of new bullion shipments arriving at the docks, riches apt to tempt hearts unsteady in the face of unity's demands. You trace the wax seal of the governor's edict, recalling the scroll's prophecy of collapse and renewal. The ziggurat looms overhead, its silhouette etched against the morning sky. Beneath its terraces, hidden passages still breathe with secrets yet unrevealed, waiting for the determined to explore their depths. Rising, you stride toward the city's southwest quarter, where the old watchtower stands sentinel over the desert plains. There, atop its ramparts, you pause and gaze out over the shifting sands and the gleaming city walls. The sunlight dances upon the Euphrates, a river of stars guiding the caravan trails to distant realms. In your hand, the scroll case feels heavier, its gilded bronze reminding you of the burdens of knowledge and the stakes of stewardship. Behind you, the city hums with the song of progress. Hammers striking iron, voices chanting prayers, children's laughter echoing through narrow lanes. Yet ahead lies the unknown. Whispered threats in the moonlit alleyways, clandestine cults seeking to resurrect ancient nightmares, and the promise of storms both physical and political. The citizen vanguard stands vigilant, but the tides of fate remain unpredictable. Take a moment now and breathe in this tableau. Babylon reborn in dawn's first glow, its people united in purpose, and the ziggurat's monolith casting a long shadow over both promise and peril. The journey continues beyond these walls, drawn onward by the intertwining threads of prophecy and action. And it is here, between the embers of resolution and the darkening horizon of omens, that Babylon's next chapter awaits your guiding hand. Dusk's amber glow fades as you slip once more into Babylon's winding back streets, where murals of faded murals hint at hidden allegiances. The city's grandeur recedes behind crumbling mud brick facades, lantern lights sparking against shuttered windows and silent doorways. Here, beyond the hum of commerce and the steady pulse of reform, an older current runs, a reverent whisper among the faithful and the forsaken. You follow the scent of sandalwood and incense to a narrow stairway pushing beneath an arch carved with winged bulls. Torch in hand, you descend into the side chamber of the Temple of Nergal, the god of war and plague, whose cult operates in secrecy. Footsteps echo against polished basalt floors, and the air grows cooler, heavy with incense. At the far end, a half-circle of hooded figures kneels before a low altar, hewn from black obsidian. A hush falls as you enter, the warden's eyes turning to assess a new presence. You recognise a former scribe among them, her face pale in the torchlight, one who once attempted to sabotage the granary distributions. She kneels again, head bowed in supplication. Her voice trembles. I seek atonement beneath Nergal's gaze, that my wrongs may be absolved through trial by flame. Flames dance across the altar as acolytes ignite braziers, their embers crackling like distant thunder. You clear your throat. I come with word from the citizen vanguard. Your service can be offered in unity with Babylon, not against it. Defiance birthed chaos. Collaboration builds the Commonwealth. Murmurs ripple. Some hooded figures shift uncomfortably, while others incline their heads in cautious hope. From the shadows emerges the cult's high guardian, a tall figure draped in crimson-stitched robes. She raises her staff, carved like intertwined serpents. Babylon's fate is woven by gods and mortals alike. Many here believe that conflict and plague will purify our city, that through suffering, unity will be forged. The congregation nods. Their faith is tempered by hardship. You step forward, torchlight reflecting off the staff's ruby insets. We have faced famine, revolt, and betrayal, and survived through unity and mercy. Do you truly believe plague and war will serve us better than compassion and cooperation? Your voice resonates through the vaulted chamber. The High Guardian's gaze narrows, then softens. She gestures to the brazier's embers. Show us the path of the Vanguard's covenant. You unseal the scroll case and reveal the Bronze Edge prophecy scroll. The assembled gasp as the ancient prophecy's words, etched in shifting glyphs, shift to reveal a final passage. When hearts are joined by mercy, the ziggurat shall stand. When fear devours faith, the world beneath shall rise in fury. A tension crackles as the hooded figures absorb the revelation. The former scribe weeps quietly, burying her face in her hands. The High Guardian kneels, placing the staff upon the altar. Then we stand with mercy, she intones. Nergal's flame shall not consume Babylon, but kindle resolve. The congregation echoes her vow, every voice a solemn chord in the cathedral's hush. You depart the subterranean chamber as the city's night choir of crickets and distant drums welcomes you back above. Lanterns cast shifting shadows along the walls, but the cult's fervour has been redirected, from chaos toward constructive purpose. Their acolytes will now serve as night watch for the vanguard, reporting threats to Watergates, granaries and temple precincts. Above ground, the moon glows half full, casting Babylon's rippled canals in pale luminescence. You cross the southern bridge, recalling the vows sworn upon its stones. Along the banks, night fishermen untangle nets, and shadows flit through alleys as clandestine couriers deliver new clay tablets, recording curfews and safety measures. In your hand, the scroll case rests heavy against your side, its bronze sealing the fate of both mortal ambition and divine will. The path of unity has just been reblazed through mercy's triumph over fanatic zeal. Yet the prophecy warns that deeper shadows still hover beneath Babylon's bright veneer. Take a breath and let the night air settle in your lungs. The scent of lotus mingled with cedar smoke, the murmur of waters lapping stone, and the distant echo of temple drums. Babylon's tapestry has been rewoven once more, but its pattern remains unfinished. In the coming hours, you will walk beside high priests, grain merchants, water judges, and cult acolytes, binding them through common purpose, while guarding against the final tremors prophesied for when unity falters. Stand now beneath the silent arches, and let the echoes of this night guide you into the final tapestry's weave. Babylon's next dawn will reveal whether mercy's ember will illuminate or be snuffed by the winds of destiny. And from here, your journey continues, into the heart of an empire reborn and the shadows that still shape its soul. The dawn breaks with a quiet majesty over Babylon, golden light spilling across the battlements and reflecting off the canal's ribbon of water. You stand atop the ziggurat's highest terrace, wind tugging at your cloak as you gaze out upon the tapestry of the city you've helped to reshape. Below, the newly formed citizen vanguard moves through the streets, farmers delivering wheat to overwhelmed granaries, water judges inspecting rejuvenated canals, and former nobles labouring alongside merchants to rebuild frayed walls. In the Plaza of Marduk, children dart between columns, their laughter a bright melody that weaves through the hum of commerce and the gentle calls of temple priests. A musician's lyre drifts on the breeze, its notes carrying promises of celebration and renewal. You descend the stone steps, each engraved with centuries-old glyphs now witness to a fresh chapter in Babylon's legacy. At the ziggurat's base, the governor greets you with a nod, clay tablet in hand. He seals your pact in the Book of Unity, inscribing your name alongside those of the Vanguard's founders. Babylon owes you a debt, he says quietly, but it is our people who will carry this burden forward. Across the street, the head priestess of Iana offers a bowl of pomegranate seeds, symbolizing life's cyclical bounty. She smiles, her earlier solemnity now tempered by hope. The gods have watched our trials and our triumphs. May this fruit nourish their favour. She sprinkles seeds on the tiled floor, each landing like a heartbeat renewed. You pause by the southern bridge, recalling the midnight conclave when whispers of change first took shape. Lanterns line the arches once more, guiding trade and travellers alike. A group of musicians strikes up a festive tune, and villagers gather to feast on barley cakes and honeyed wine. The air is thick with the aroma of roasted meats and joyous chatter, a testament to Unity's sweet harvest. Yet beyond the revelry, you sense the horizon's pull. Caravans laden with cedar and lapis set out toward distant lands, bearing Babylon's story across sands and seas. Foreign envoys arrive with gifts of myrrh and frankincense, pledging alliances forged in trust rather than plunder. In the child's bright eyes and the merchant's grateful clasp, you see the seeds of enduring prosperity. Turning, you ascend one final stair to a hidden alcove within the ziggurat, unrolling the scroll of prophecy one last time. The glyphs shift beneath your gaze, final lines revealing, "When mercy guides the strong and unity tempers ambition, Babylon's heart shall beat beyond the ages." You roll the bronze scroll closed and tuck it into your cloak, the weight a reminder of the journey's cost and the promise ahead. As you step into the morning light, the city's chorus greets you, a symphony of restoration, reverence, and resolve. 2 more journeys await around the bend. Don't miss them. Subscribe and ring that bell.